Imagine you fell in love, your partner is abroad, you filed a K1 fiancé visa to bring them home. Now imagine a federal agent pulls up their Instagram, their Twitter, every public post from the last 5 years and decides, based on what they liked, shared, and said, whether your relationship gets to exist on US soil. We talked about this. Now it's been officialized, is a US official policy as of March 30th, and that's just the beginning of what we're going to talk about in today's episode. Social media vetting expanded to visa categories that were never touched before. It hits and what it actually means for real people. And in the UK, just quietly banned Afghan, Cameroonian, Sudanese, and Myanmar nationals from work and student visas entirely. Not slowed down, banned. And how a global crackdown across the US, UK, Canada, and the EU is tightening at the same exact moment, and what it means if you or someone you love is trying to get here. The US Department expanded the social media vetting requirements to more than a dozen additional visa categories. Before this, the social media screening applied mainly to students and exchange visitor visas. Now it covers K1 fiancé visas, religious work visas, visa categories specifically created for trafficking survivors and crime victims, people who survived the worst, who finally came forward, who applied for protection the US government created for the exact reason. Now their social media accounts are being reviewed as part of that application. Every account used in the last 5 years must be disclosed, profiles made publicly visible during processing. If you fail to disclose an account and if your privacy settings are up, you may face delays or outright denial. Now, the State Department says the goal is to identify security risk. Here's what immigration attorneys are pointing out. The policy does not define what constitutes a risk. There is no clear standards. A post supporting Palestinian rights, a comment about US foreign policy, a shared article, any of it is in scope, and there is no transparency about how accounts are evaluated. The door to discriminatory enforcement is wide open. K1 visa holders are people who are engaged to US citizens. They are not applicants from countries of any watch list. They are people in love trying to start families on American soil, and now their Instagram account is part of their application. How do you feel about that? And now the US is not doing this alone. Across the Atlantic, the United Kingdom just made moves that are even more blunt, effective. Last month, the 26th of March, the US Home Office implemented a sweeping set of new immigration restrictions. Afghan nationals are now fully barred from applying for UK skilled worker permit route. That is not a slowdown. That door is closed, shut. And guess what? It gets wider. Nationals of Afghanistan, Cameroon, Myanmar, and Sudan are now banned from applying for UK student visas. Now, Afghanistan is supposedly a country the UK helped destabilize through 2 decades of war. Myanmar, where a military coup, overthrew a democratic government in 2021, and a civil war has raged since then. Sudan is one of the world's worst humanitarian crisis is unfolding right now with over 12 million people displaced. Cameroon, where an Anglophone conflict has killed thousands and displaced hundreds of thousands. These countries are not bad actors. These countries are survivors, and the UK had just told them, their people, the door is shut. Now, the official rationale in immigration control and concerns about visa overstay in certain categories, but immigration advocates in the UK are pointing at something larger. The Home Secretary has also gutted refugee protections this year, requiring asylum seekers to reapply for status every 2.5 years with no guarantee of renewal. 8 renewals over 20 years before anyone can apply for a permanent resettlement. So critics are calling it the creation of permanent underclass of people living in legal limbo with no path forward. With US doing what it's doing with immigration, I feel like that is not a coincidence. There is a coordinated global shift on how wealthy nations are treating mobility, not just undocumented migrations, legal pathways, skilled workers, students, survivors, fiancés. The message being sent globally right now is this: the door is open if we decide you're useful and we will be watching everything you say to make that call. Now, there's a woman somewhere tonight filing out a visa application for the person she loves, a man for the person he loves. She does not know, and he does not know, that her partner's old posts, things said in grief, in anger, in the heat of the political moment years ago, are now part of whether their life together gets to happen. Let me leave you with a question here. I keep sitting with the question that, of what we actually mean when we say someone is welcome here, because the policy that just took effect says we'll let you know after we read everything. If you're new here, please be sure to click the subscribe button. We talk about immigration and global latest breaking news, immigration that touches your life in a way. We cover every beat of every single thing we can possibly find every week. We post several times. This is a place where your intelligence is respected and your humanity. Share this episode with someone in your circle that needs this information before they file something. Until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.